Before I start, it's a really bad time to be doing this speech, because as we speak, James Murdoch is announcing that the News of the World will have its final issue on Sunday. Yeah. So I don't think many people are going to be watching this on the live stream, so it's just you and my mum. You're going to be hearing about her in a bit. When I was invited to do this by Marcus, I thought I want to talk about the idea that stories matter. That's going to be the title of my speech. And I want to tell you something. 10.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's a form of cancer, lymph gland. And the first course of treatment, don't worry, a couple of you went, oh God, it has a happy ending. The first course of treatment didn't work, and so I had to undergo a stem cell transplant. We know how much stem cells are worth. In very simple terms, a stem cell transplant is a short, fast blast of chemotherapy that destroys your bone marrow, the immune system that protects you from the little bugs and infections that are on our skin and everywhere. And now once the bone marrow is completely destroyed, your ability to protect yourself from your own skin has been completely destroyed, then they give you a transplant of new stem cells, of new marrow. And they hope that this stuff is going to grow back. The point is, once they give you the chemo, they have to put you into a room in isolation. No one's allowed in. Come in. Thank you very much. It's live. Once they give you the chemo, they put you in a room. You're in isolation. No one's allowed in. No one's allowed out, because anybody coming in might be bringing the infection that's going to kill you. And it's a small room. It's a really small room. But they've made one of the walls a window. One of the 4 walls is made of glass, so people can keep an eye on you. So it's not really a room. It's a fishbowl. And you've got nothing really to do but watch bad daytime TV. But that's okay, because you've not got the energy to do anything. Anyway, I swear to God, you're not going to be able to lift your head off the pillow. You're not going to be able to read a book. You're not going to have that energy. And you're going to lie in your bed in a room about 10 foot square, and you're going to stare up at the ceiling. And you're going to have to engage with the thought that statistically, odds-wise, there is less than 50% chance that it's going to work. You're going to lie in your bed in your 10-foot square room that no one's allowed into with its 4th wall made of glass, and you're going to think about the fact that you had no option but to let these brilliant and dedicated and wonderful doctors and nurses destroy your ability to protect yourself from even your own skin, because if you hadn't let them do that, the cancer was going to kill you off before Christmas. And you're going to do all of this for 9 weeks, at least. 63 days with your head on the pillow, 63 days with those thoughts and that wall that's made of glass. And you know only this. You've seen guys go into the same thing with a good spirit, and you've seen guys go into the same thing with a bad spirit. And you have to have a good spirit, which is a big fucking ask of your spirit. It's a big ask of your thinking. And these doctors, the brilliant and dedicated and wonderful doctors, they know this. They know it's a massive ask. So they give you a therapist, one that specializes in working with people who have to engage with their own mortality, which, just for the record, is a brilliant and dedicated and wonderful thing to specialize in. I don't remember the name of my guy. I don't remember his name, which is shameful. And it is a shame, because thanks to him and a load of other doctors, that's why I'm alive. But that therapist told me something. He said something to me, which is the sole reason why I'm a 32-year-old making theatre and not something else. Before you go into the room, you start to prepare your mind, but there's no order to it. It's too big a thing for a 22-year-old. You need order. You can't start to order your thoughts and engage with the reality, which is this could be the last room you ever go into. And the only thing that is going to make any difference, the only thing you can do is to stay positive, is to stay hunkered down and mentally clear. And it's like trying not to think about something specific. The more you try, the harder you try, the more you fail. You need an understanding. You need a framework. And this therapist, he gave me one. He said to me, the seconds are going to tick by like torture. It's going to seem like it's never going to end. It's going to seem like it's unbearable. But one day, all of this is going to be one story, a single tale, a solitary narrative that you can tell to someone in less than 5 minutes. And that's how you know you'll get through it. Imagine the moment you are telling this story to a room full of people, just like this one, and work back from there. Stories matter. They aren't how we hide from things. They are how we understand things. Stories give us understanding so we can think about the big things, the things that seem too big to fathom. I was born in West Berlin. My father was in the Royal Air Force, Signals. I grew up on a military base called RAF Ghetto, which is basically a walled village, complete with its own shop, its own churches, schools, the whole kit and caboodle, and it's completely surrounded by a military fence. Now, I know some of you are going to know this, but for some people, it's like ancient history. So, briefly, West Berlin is obviously one half of Berlin. The whole of Berlin is in East Germany. And East Germany butts up against West Germany over here, and the line between the two is the Iron Curtain. Now, the Iron Curtain seems like a really quaint idea nowadays, but back then, 1978, they took these things seriously. There were two competing ideas about how the world should be run. There was communism and there was American capitalism. And all around the world, there were points where these two ideas butted up against each other as points of friction, like Teutonic plates, smashing against each other. And in Europe, one of those places was Berlin. West Berlin, here, behind the Iron Curtain, deep in East Germany, was a shop window to Europe under communism. Look! This is what we're like. This is what our system's like. Aren't we fabulous? It was a completely created environment, created and maintained to make clear statements to all who wanted to look about the military, the economic, the spiritual might of Western democracy. Now, all cities are political, yes, but West Berlin wasn't just political. It was a specific, solitary political statement. Imagine that. A city making a statement to the world for 40 years. West Berlin was a piece of storytelling, a brilliant piece of storytelling, not just city-wide, but city-deep and city-broad, the story about the success and glory of capitalism. I was teaching some students about it recently. I talked about West Berlin briefly, and about this idea of a storied city, and one of the kids said to me, yeah, but it's not like anything was at stake, right? And no one seriously thought there was an alternative, right? Communism? That's how fucking great the story was. We've forgotten that there was anything else. All great stories, when they end, we go, of course it ended like that. It couldn't possibly have ended any other way. That's how great a piece of storytelling West Berlin was. We've forgotten that there was the possibility of anything else. Stories matter. Now, on RAF Ghetto, it was the case that children who wanted to learn to play the piano could have the loan of one of the instruments held in a central store on the base. I figure it's practical. You've got all these families moving around the world. They're all lugging a bloody piano around. It's easier to keep some and go, you can borrow one if you want. Anyway, for whatever reason, it was a service that was delivered. It was some compensation for living with a Soviet tank division within walking distance. A piano. So, my mother goes to the piano office and she says, can I have a piano for my son, please? And she gets the answer, well, no. Well, they're for the children of officers. Now, the RAF, like the Army and the Navy, they're split into ranks, obviously. It's the armed forces. So we have officers who command people to do things, and then we have non-officers who actually do things. My father was a non-officer. He was, at that point, a corporal. We've all seen movies, so we all know what a corporal is. The pianos were for the sons and daughters of officers. I'm okay with that, actually, and let me explain why. The armed forces have to do incredibly difficult things. There needs must be rules to maintain some sort of structure. I mean, we were living in West Berlin, sure, city-scale storytelling, smiles out front, live your life happy in the glow of capitalism, all very exciting. But we were also living behind the Iron Curtain. City of regular nuclear threat drills, checking under your car with a mirror for bombs before going to the shops. So I can appreciate that there are some parts of the world that need to have a tighter structure, a clearer framework for our understanding. Rules are rules, yeah? But that doesn't mean you can't see if the system's got a bit of give in it. So my mother, she says to the piano officer, sure, normally they're for the children of officers, but, I mean, look at him, he's a precocious kid, right? Stop, you shouldn't have laughed at that bit. He's really into the piano, come on! And this guy, and I don't know his name either, so we're going to call him Jeremy. We're definitely going to call this man Jeremy. Jeremy says, look, don't be getting your son's hopes up. Don't be giving him ideas above his station. It's not like a kid like that is ever going to make money from it. Ideas above his station. Jeremy actually said that. He said that phrase. He said, don't be getting his hopes up. That's what Jeremy said. Don't be giving him ideas above his station. When we lived in Berlin, my mother worked as a nurse in the military hospital casualty. Months after this incident, she was on duty when a man came in with a dog bite needing a jab. Despite years of medical training, for some reason my mother misjudged the depth of the jab she gave the man and knocked that needle square into his bone repeatedly. If that's never happened to you, it fucking hurts. A lot. Now you and I know that the man who came in for the jab was our old friend Jeremy. Because sometimes life is better than stories. Stories matter. They're how we understand things. They help us tackle the difficult things that have to be tackled. They remind us of why we do things. Now, I think a lot of the changes that are being made at the minute by the government to our society are actually to do with the idea that quite a few of us now have ideas above our station. I think just as West Berlin was the proclaiming of a solitary political statement, so the remodeling of our society is the attempt to create a place where everybody knows theirs. But we're not in the armed forces. We've not signed up for a tighter structure on what our places might be. Predictably, my battle's in the arts. It's what I do. I don't really know very much else. Now, the money, the financial cuts from arts funding was yesterday's and today's battle and problem. But tomorrow's battle, I'm pretty sure, is going to be the ideology, is the belief that some stories don't matter. Your story doesn't matter. My story doesn't matter. Jeremy doesn't think you should get your hopes up. Jeremy should think you should know your place. And to stop Jeremy, we're going to have to create a passion, an amazement in the public, a certainty in the people that stories matter, that the arts matter, not as peripheral to the central parts of their life, but absolutely as the component of the very marrow of their being. We must become, in everybody's minds, vital. You don't win anybody's love and support by begging for it. That's like crying at the doorway as your lover leaves for the last time. We're going to get the support from the public by seducing it out of them, by telling them stories, and by dancing them stories, and by singing them stories, and by building them stories, and by playing them stories, and letting them dance in public squares, in bits of light that come from magic boxes, and playing them cellos in parks. And we don't understand how it works, but isn't it amazing? The tools for building this new certainty are not the strategies and conferences and arguments of an intrinsic and instrumental value. The way we will convince the public that we are a central, brilliant, inspiring, sexy part of their lives is by being literally just that, by amazing them with our skill and the boldness of our ambition, by telling stories of such beauty, such power, such profound emotion and glory that the simple truth of the statement, stories matter, is utterly undeniable. Stories are how we gain an understanding. They are what helps us navigate the world, and they are absolutely, totally meant to get our hopes up. Stories matter. Thank you very much for listening to mine.